Hey leader, David Burkus here, organizational psychologist and author of 4 best-selling books on helping teams do their best work ever. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to reinforce purpose on a team. Look, we've known about the importance of purpose in organizations for a long time. We know that purpose-driven companies outperform their competitors. We know that individuals who feel a sense of purpose in their work are more engaged and more productive. And we know that teams that feel that same sense of purpose are more collaborative and more creative. But finding ways to reinforce purpose on a daily basis can be difficult. It's easy to get bogged down in the tasks and the key performance indicators we're asked to keep a focus on and to lose sight of that larger organizational mission. And one of the things that I've found is that the way you frame that purpose as a leader of your team will have a dramatic effect on whether or not it gets reinforced by the day-to-day actions and whether or not it gets internalized and lived. And so in this video, we're going to share 3 ways that you can state that purpose in a team that will help them internalize it, it will reinforce it, and it will help them feel like on a day-to-day basis, they're actually working toward something bigger than themselves. People don't want to join a company, they want to join a crusade or a cause. And these 3 frames, these 3 fights, as I call them, will help your team reinforce their purpose and feel that sense of cause. Now, the first one is what I call the revolutionary fight. It's framing your team or your organization's mission as a revolution. You're in a revolution whenever you can point to the industry or society, whenever you can point to some status quo and say, the industry says blank is acceptable and we refuse to accept that. When you can take a stand and say, we're working to change something about our industry, some norm or some evil that's seen as necessary for some dumb reason, we're working to remove that and find a better way to do business as an organization and as a team. And my favorite example of a revolutionary fight, a revolutionary purpose that gets reinforced by the people who work there is the company Pela. Now, Pela is a Vancouver-based company that makes consumer products. They make cell phone cases, they make sunglasses, they make things out of plastic, except they're not made out of plastic. They're not even made out of recycled plastic to be more eco-friendly. They're actually made out of leftover farming materials that they found a way to take the husks of various organic materials, melt them down and create a moldable, injectable plastic that biodegrades in 10 years when composted. So when you look at the entire industry and it says using petrochemicals and things that will clog the oceans for eternity almost isn't acceptable, is a necessary evil to get consumers what they want, Pela says we're not going to change consumerism, but we can change what's consumed. The industry says this use is acceptable and we refuse to accept that. You ask anybody at any given day who works at that organization, what are you working for? What are you fighting for? They'll all tell you the same thing, a waste-free future. That's a revolution. Now, the second way that you can do it is with one that's a personal favorite of mine. It's the underdog fight, or the underdog way to frame out your company's purpose. And the underdog fight happens not just because your organization is small, but because it's overlooked or overrated, because somewhere the industry or a specific competitor has judged you to be not good enough. You know you're in an underdog fight when you can take the existing organizational mission and reframe it as, they say we're not enough, but blank is why they're wrong. And that second piece is key. Because one of the things we know from psychological research on how an underdog narrative helps a sense of purpose and motivation is that you need a rebuttal. It's not enough to just be rejected. You as a leader need to point to a reason why they're wrong and a plan for shutting the critics up, for proving the haters wrong. And my favorite example of this would be the company Netflix. Netflix, like a lot of people know, was actually looked at one point by Blockbuster. Blockbuster, before they went bankrupt because of Netflix, had an opportunity to purchase Netflix and passed. And we know the end of the story. Netflix ate their lunch. But what a lot of people don't know is that Blockbuster, at least on paper, made the right call. See, Netflix was going out of business. They were hemorrhaging cash. They had about 6 weeks of cash left in their reserves before they'd have to either stop paying their employees or just close up shop altogether. And the leaders of Netflix went to Dallas to meet with Blockbuster as a way to keep their people employed. They were hoping to get acquired so that they could all just still have jobs. And the CFO and the other leaders at Blockbuster saw through it and they rejected the offer. They didn't even make an offer to purchase Netflix. Now, Reed Hastings and his team left that meeting without a pile of cash, but what they got was a way better way to look at their company's purpose, because they could adopt an underdog narrative at this point. They could say, look, Blockbuster, the established player in the industry, doesn't even think we're a threat. They don't think we're significant, and here's how we're gonna prove them wrong. We're gonna prove them wrong with no late fees. We're gonna prove them wrong with increases in efficiencies on our website, with personalized recommendations, by leveraging a postal service that is friendly towards what we're actually trying to mail. There's a myriad of ways we're gonna prove them wrong. Let's go do it. And they did it. And you know that the underdog narrative is a trademark of an organization like Netflix because of what happened next. Blockbuster went bankrupt, and who did they go after next? They went after Hollywood. Hollywood said, we're not good enough to create films. Here's how we're gonna prove them wrong. Now they're going after cable companies. Cable companies say, we can't create television shows and we can't create a whole medium of entertainment. Here's how we're gonna prove them wrong. At every step of the organization's existence, they've leveraged that underdog narrative to reinforce purpose so that everyone on every team feels a sense of exactly what it is they're fighting for. And the very last way that you can reinforce purpose on a team, that you can make your team feel a sense of cause or crusade in their day-to-day work, is through what I call the ally fight or the ally frame. And the ally frame is actually quite simple because it's not about your team at all. Instead, it's about somebody else. It's about a stakeholder or a customer or someone else in the community that is served by the work that you do. You know you're in an ally fight, or you know you can use the ally fight template when you can say, it's not about us, they are fighting for blank. And here's how we help them. That second piece is obviously the key, because if your work isn't helping them win their fight, then you are not an ally. And my favorite example of the ally fight is probably the sweetest example of a cause or a crusade in any organization. It's the company Hershey Foods. A lot of people know Hershey Foods because of candy bars. Maybe they know Hershey Park. Maybe they've been to the luxurious Hershey Hotel. But I bet they don't know about the Milton Hershey School for Orphans. The Milton Hershey School for Orphans is a school founded by Milton Hershey himself to educate biological and societal orphans. It's funded so well from the Hershey Foods Company because of a special arrangement between Milton Hershey and the school. And the kids, 1,000 kids a year, graduate from this school, and they get a shot at life that life didn't give them. They get a first-rate education. They get to study on a campus that honestly looks like any Ivy League school you would ever visit. And they get it all not because Hershey Foods donates some percentage of their profits or something like that to the school, but because the school actually owns Hershey Foods. Milton Hershey gifted all of his ownership in the Hershey Foods Company to a trust that funds the school. The trust owns the company. This isn't corporate social responsibility. This is that nonprofit and its mission owning the company that funds it. And it's an amazing way to do it because it helps employees see a sense of purpose in everyday life. It's not that 10% of our revenues go to whatever. It's that we work for that. Those kids, they're our boss, they're our ally, and we are fighting for them. And I've actually been critical of Hershey Foods' mission statements on their 10Ks and things like that before because I felt like they were vague and really sort of unmotivating. But I learned that it had no effect on the actual employees because the employees, especially the ones in the home office, could look across the street at the school and know clearly and concisely what they're fighting for. A number of years ago, I got a chance to tour the campus of the Milton Hershey School for Orphans. And after I saw all of the academic and athletic equipment that was funded by this arrangement, my tour guide looked at me and said, "You sure can build a lot with a bar of chocolate, can't you?" And it was amazing. It was an amazing insight into what really matters when you're fighting an ally fight, when you're using that template to reinforce purpose. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list of the ways that you can frame your organization's purpose to reinforce it on a team and on their day-to-day work, but these are the three that are most aligned with what we know about the psychological research about how teams and individuals are motivated. They can be motivated to join a revolution when the industry says blank is acceptable and we refuse to accept that. They can be motivated to prove the naysayers wrong and partake in an underdog fight when they say we're not enough and blank is why they're wrong. Or they can look at an ally, a stakeholder, someone whose life is made better, and they can say they are fighting for this and blank is how we help them. The revolutionary fight, the underdog fight, the ally fight, they all add up to a powerful way to reframe why your organization came into existence and why it needs to continue to exist, and more importantly, why people are doing the tasks that they've been asked to do on a day-to-day basis. It all adds up to a powerful way to reinforce purpose, not just on your team, not just on individuals, but throughout the entire organization. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you really liked it and you want to go deeper, then check out the resources we have for you and your team at davidburkus.com/resources. Guaranteed there's something in there that'll help you do your best work ever.